Hello everybody. Today I'm going to do a requested video to kind of talk about balling on a budget as a single income family, which I thought was a really interesting topic because that's become kind of a huge part of my life. Having to navigate those waters, and so I'm going to do soft spoken. Also, my voice is a little bit off because we've all kind of got the crud, I guess. But I'm going to chew Trident. This is a new pack of gum. I haven't opened it yet. And I'm going to talk about just kind of how we have navigated that the past couple years as a family of 3 and then a family of 5. I'm having to film in here today. I hope that the sound is okay. I know some people liked this room and some people didn't, but this is where I needed to do this today, so hopefully that's okay. Thank you to my Patreon subscribers. I've got several members and a few paying members, and I just really appreciate it. So this video is going to go to Patreon a day early, and then it will be posted on YouTube. So the Patreon has all my videos. They'll be posted a day early, and they have no ads. And then if enough people ask for the next tier for like exclusive content, I may do that in a little bit. Oh, I've got lipstick on my mug, but this is one of my favorite mugs. Harry Potter, New York. We got it there a couple years ago when we went to New York for a little conference for my husband's work. Okay, so to start off, I just want to say that our lives have drastically changed since we have gone down to one income. And I know, like, this is just a disclaimer. I know that some families truly cannot do it, like, financially. You know, that like sometimes it's just not possible. Like, you just both have to work. But I will say that I have known a lot of people who say, oh, we just can't afford it. We just can't do it. I would love to stay home, but we just can't do it. And I think that is true for them with the current mindset that they have. So what I mean by that is, when you have 2 car payments because you have really nice cars and you want that, like you want to have really nice cars, and so that's important to you, and your car payments are big, that like to where you can't stay home. Or, you know, you hate cooking and your family just really wants to eat out. So yeah, it's in that, with that mindset, it's not possible. You know, or just the kinds of things you do, like what you spend money on. If you like getting new clothes all the time, and you want that freedom, and that, like, that's a top priority, which is fine, then yes, staying home is probably not possible. I think what I am trying to say is doing one income is not possible without sacrifices. Like, we lived a totally different life before we had kids. So like, anytime we were on breaks from work, we were both teachers at the time. We had either a rent payment or a house payment, and a car payment, and I still had student loans we were paying off, so we did have expenses, but we were still, like when you have a double income and no kids, we still were able to do whatever we wanted, you know? We ate out a lot. Anytime we had a break from school, we went on trips. You know, not all of them were big trips, but we would drive 5 hours to a big city and stay 3 nights and do lots of different things while we were there and eat out the whole time. And like we had money to do that. Whereas now, that's one of the sacrifices we've had to make. And to me, that sacrifice is worth it for this season, because I know that eventually we will travel again and eventually we will do things again. But in this season, we don't spend every break traveling. We often stay home. So we've had to give up things that we love to do in order for me to stay home. And staying home was just really, it's always been really important to me to do that. I've always wanted to do that. And some moms don't want to, and it's not good for them to stay home. Like they want to work, at least part-time, because it's good for their mental health, and it's good, like, something my sister taught me when I had my first kid was like, what's best for mommy is best for baby. And so like, if you're a better mom when you work, that's best for your kid. Like, if you have better mental health doing that, then that's what's best for your family. But for me personally, I always wanted to stay home, so we found a way to make it work. So like that took planning. And it just takes lots of like, there's bummers, you know, where it's like, oh, I really want to eat out tonight. I really don't want to cook, but like we don't have money in the budget to do that tonight. Like we can't go do that. So like we eat at home now most of the time. We go out to eat sometimes, but not all the time. And I will say that like for our favorite restaurants, like we get the apps for all the restaurants. And so like we keep up with like, oh, do we have a reward for Chick-fil-A? Like, oh, you know, I've got a free sandwich at Chick-fil-A. So tonight, you know, we could all go and just get a sandwich, and then it wouldn't be very much money. And so we have all the apps for different restaurants to like keep up with if we can get rewards and go. And then, you know, when I'm grocery shopping, and I've talked to you guys about this with like my grocery lists and stuff, like I've had to I used to not care like what brand or anything like that. Like I would just buy whatever was on the shelf, first thing that I saw that I liked. Now I'm a penny pincher, like when it comes to, it's just so funny. Like I'll be standing at SAHM's and I'm like, okay, this olive oil, it may be $12 or $20 or however much it is, but like, how much is it per ounce? And I'll look at it, and then I'll pull my Walmart app up on my phone and I'll look, and I'm like, oh my word, olive oil is so much cheaper at Sam's. And I cook with olive oil a lot. So I have in my mind now, like when we first got our Sam's membership, I looked and compared like what was cheaper where and what, like, because some things at Sam's are not cheaper, even buying in bulk, because some things they don't have like the Members Mark brand. They just have name brand, and so it's not always cheaper to do that, because at Walmart I can get the Great Value brand and it's still cheaper than whatever, like chocolate chips. I make a lot of chocolate chip cookies for like functions and events and stuff at church and just for people. And it's not cheaper for me to buy my chocolate chips at Sam's because they only have name brand chocolate chips. But at Walmart, I can get the Great Value brand, and I can't tell a difference. Like when I'm using it in chocolate chip cookies, I can't tell a difference. There are some things that you need the name brand because it's just better, you know. Like for example, at Aldi, I love to shop at Aldi, but I tried getting Ziplocs at Aldi because they were so cheap, and they're horrible. They break, they don't zip up well. My husband was like, okay, I know you like to save, but this is worth buying. And it's, I don't even think I buy the brand. I buy Great Value Ziplocs, but they're just way better quality than the Ziplocs at Aldi, even though the Aldi ones are cheaper. So I like doing one income, and those things are so small. Like sometimes my husband like laughs at me because he's like, it's 50 cents. Like why? It doesn't matter. But when it's 50 cents on lots of different products all throughout the month, it does add up, you know, like, and so because I'm in charge of the groceries, like I kind of have self-appointed to be in charge of the groceries. So I keep up with that stuff, and I see like, okay, this is several dollars cheaper. Like normally I don't always shop at Kroger. I tend to get Walmart groceries delivered, or I go to Aldi. But I have a Kroger really close to my house. And the Walmart that's really close to my house is not great. Like, I don't like going in there by myself. So as often as I can, I get my groceries delivered from Walmart because that was an expense that's worth it. And like, we read a book, I think it was called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. I know that's the title of that book, by John Mark Comer. Such a good book. Wonderful book if you're a Christian, or even if you're not a Christian, but you just want to like see how to slow down in our world, and like what it does to your body to go at the pace that we go as Americans in like a consumer culture. It was such a good book. It talks a lot about Sabbath and just the importance of taking a rest. And so part of what he talks about in that book is like this culture of consumerism. And so kind of like really thinking about what you spend your money on, and like, do you need it? Like what do you need? And then just like taking time to think about your purchases. And that, you know, if it's like a really expensive purchase, you should spend a while thinking about that and weighing the option of like, how much time is this going to take away from my family? Like if I buy this thing, you know, how much time is this going to take away from just attention that I could be giving other things? Like, what's the cost of it? What's that going to do to our budget? Like spending time thinking about things. And like, I will say, like, before we had kids and we're living on one income, I didn't do that because I didn't have to. And not to say that that's still not important, because even if you have the money, I think it's still important to think about purchases. But being forced to, like I have to now, it's just taught me a lot about what I actually need. Like, this is just an example, but one time I remember we were like in Dallas for the weekend when we lived in Texas, and we went to the mall and we saw a Ninja blender, and that wasn't even on our radar of something that we wanted, but we saw it. We had some friends with us who had one. They were talking about what they used it for, all this stuff. It was like $200, and we were like, yeah, let's do it. You know, yeah, that sounds great. Let's do it. And we had the money. Now, and I love my Ninja. I have used it to make baby food for all my kids. Like it has been worth it, like making different stuff. But that's just an example of like, now if we want something that's $200, we spend a lot of time thinking about what will it do for our family? Will it save us a lot of time? that we could be spending time together as a family, like that we could be pouring into something else? Or is it just something we really want that like we don't need? So like an example of this, of us doing this since we've been on one income, is a Roomba. Because I cannot tell you, like with kids, I mean, you know, if you're a parent, but like with kids, with a dog, the amount of time that I was spending every day sweeping, and I would sweep the floors multiple times a day, because our hardwood, like you can see everything. It's the color. It's a color, I guess, that it just shows everything. So I was sweeping multiple times a day, and we thought about getting a Roomba for a very long time before we did it. Like it wasn't an impulse purchase. And we saved for it, and then we got it. And that has been like a really big benefit to our family, because when we leave the house, we can turn it on, and it just saves us like so much time. And that is not something that I need. I had a pretty good outlook on sweeping. Like I was just like, this is something I can do for my family. This is like, I don't have to have a Roomba. Like I can do this myself. But it has been a big blessing, like that we were able to save for that and think through that purchase, because that was really helpful for us. And so I think like when you're on one income, especially big purchases, you got to think through it and like spend time mulling it over. And John Mark Comer, who wrote that book, said like the more expensive the thing is, the more time you should spend thinking about it before you purchase. I thought that was really good advice, because then you're not just impulse buying. When it comes to clothes, I rarely buy myself new clothes. Like I have enough. That's something I used to do when we had money, like that we just like, it wasn't a thought. Then I would just buy things because they were cute and I wanted them. And now I don't really buy myself clothes unless I have birthday money or Christmas money. Sometimes my mom will take me to shop at like the change of seasons or something. She'll buy me something, and that's nice. And I've just learned like I don't need like more clothes. Like that's not something that I need. I might want them, but I don't need them. And so like just learning to be content with what I have, and what I have is a lot. It's not like I have 2 shirts that I have to, I've got enough clothes. It's just that our culture is always talking about like what's new, what's better, what's best. And it puts that in your head, and that's what we're seeing all the time. And we don't need it. We don't always need it. So like it was a really hard adjustment. I'm not going to say that it was easy, because there are a lot of days like when it's been a hard week or whatever, and I'm like, I just want to be able to, go spend this money, or, go eat out somewhere nice or whatever. It was a hard adjustment for me. And now it's become normal to me. And so it's not like a huge bummer all the time. It's the joy that I have, like that I get to stay home, and that's what I want. That's what's so important to me. And so there are things that I can't do all the time that I used to do. So with the grocery shopping, like the things that don't matter to get name brand, I don't. And I compare prices on meat. Meat is expensive. I mean, you guys know that. Like, everything is so much more expensive now than it used to be. But I compare the prices of like chicken per pound. What is it at Aldi? What is it at Sam's? What is it at Walmart? Okay, this is the cheapest place for me to buy that today. You know, and anything that I can, I get the off-brand of, because it just doesn't matter very much with some things. Now, if you eat organic, everything and stuff, like, I love that. Like, and if you have the funds to be able to do that, you know, that's amazing. That's definitely more expensive than, like, I can't really do that right now. Now, when my grandparents have their garden in the summer, we eat lots of fresh veggies and stuff, and that's amazing. And but you know, besides that, I just get the cheapest stuff that I can to make stuff for my family. And so I'll think about, when I'm meal planning, how many meals will this make us? Can I make enough of this to freeze and put it in the freezer? So like when I make soup, I always make enough soup to freeze at least 1 meal's worth of soup, so that it's in the freezer and we can pull it out one night when we don't have anything planned and eat that. Instead of being like, oh, we don't have anything to eat tonight, let's just go out to eat. No, I've got that in the freezer, and I can just whip up some cornbread or make some rice or whatever it is that could go with that, and then we've got a meal. So just like being conscientious of, like, because like before, oh, it's like hurts me now, but before, when we didn't have kids and I would make meals and I'd be like, oh, we're gonna eat this leftover, and then we wouldn't. We would go out to eat and it would go bad and I would just throw it away. Now I plan it out in my head, and if I know we're gonna have more than we need, I freeze it, and that way we can have it later. It's very rare now that I'm just like throwing away food. Like, I'm just really conscious of how to plan and save, and like finding things that I like that are cheap, like beans. Me and my son really like beans. We can do beans and rice. We can do beans and like eggs and different stuff for some meals, and I'll make those homemade. Like, buy the beans dry, soak them, make them, and then we can eat on those. And I'll put a lot in the freezer so that I can pull it out when I'm making soup or whatever, and then that lowers the cost of like everything that I'm buying to put in the soup. This is probably really boring to some people. I'm talking about this, I'm like, some people are probably like, get a grip, girl, like, you're overthinking it. But as a stay-at-home mom with one income, I really think you have to do that. Like, you have to think through your purchases and like how to limit yourself. And it's been a really good lesson for me in humility and just like what I need versus what I want. It's forced me to be less worldly, because I don't have the money to do that anymore. And it's always been important to me, like, not to have an abundance of money, because I know that I would struggle with that if we did. Like, if we had a ton of money, I know that I would use it, you know? Like, I would buy things and pay someone to clean my house and not that any of those things are bad things, but I could see how easy it would be for me to slip into like, yeah, buy that, and you want that, go get it. And I think it's a good thing for me to have to reflect on that a lot, of just like, yeah, I want that and that would be nice, but I don't need it, and that's not a wise purchase. And just really spending time thinking through that, making, a list if you need to, of like, what do I need versus what do I want, And what can you eliminate from your lifestyle? Like my husband and I do that pretty regularly. If we're feeling like really tightness, we'll kind of look at like, let's write down the apps that we pay for on our TV. Like what subscriptions do we have? Okay. What do we watch on that? Like if it's Hulu, Netflix, like what do we watch on that? Do we need it? Do we want to keep it? Like, oh yeah, we do have several things that we like. Let's keep that. Move on to the next thing. Like, how much do we use this? Because if it's not a lot, we don't need to be paying for that. That's $10, $12 a month we could save. So let's cut costs where we can. And we'll just kind of look at that fairly regularly to kind of just check in, like, what are we paying for and like why? And if it warrants that we keep paying for it, then great, like we'll just keep paying for it. But if it's kind of like a thing that we are only looking at once a month or something, then it's like we shouldn't be paying for this. Yeah, that's been good for us. And it's also just like prompted us to like try to sell things like on Marketplace or wherever that we don't use and we don't need anymore. We're not minimalists by any stretch, but it has caused us to scale back in a major way and kind of realize that we don't need all the things that we have. So yeah, I hope that helped. For anybody who was like trying to think through the like logistics of how to survive on one income. Yeah. I also try to do little side jobs when I can. Like you guys know that, like, when I would keep kids and get paid for that, that was a really great way for us to have some fun money. So like right now I'm not keeping any kids because I have so many, but like when I do little side jobs, like cleaning houses or keeping kids or whatever, most of the time people will Venmo me for that and I'll just keep it there, keep it in my Venmo. And then if we want to do something fun as a family, we use that money. And I kind of keep it separate so that we know, okay, we've got this. Like we actually could go on a 2-day trip together because I've saved this money. And it's just kind of like our fun money to use when when we're doing okay and we don't have to use it for something else. Like we'll often keep that saved and use it on something fun together. And so that's been nice to try to find ways to save. And like having a YouTube channel has helped us make our car payment. Like that kind of helps. That's a way that I can like help our family financially to like make our car payment each month, because we didn't have a car payment, but then we had to get a van when we had twins, and so now we have a car payment. So just like thinking of ways to make it work, like those things have helped. And I have like from time to time little side things I do that can help our family financially, like teaching yoga. I'm not teaching yoga right now since I've had the babies, but like I did that all through my pregnancy. And those little side things just helped us, So I think it's cool when you can find little side things as a mom, but not be like away a ton, like to where you have to get a babysitter or whatever. But you just find little things that you enjoy that you can use to help your family. Like my friend, she works a few days a week and she's wanting to stay home full time, and she's going to start making sourdough bread. And I was like, you could sell that. Like lots of people want sourdough bread, but they don't want to have to make it and keep up with the starter and the different stuff. And so you could sell that, and that would be a way to help your family and not be gone from home. You can just cook and bake with your kids. So yeah, it's been really fun. for me to find little things and to be savvy and just find little ways to help her family. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope that the sound in here is okay. And yeah, I'll see you guys soon.